Yeah, so last time we went over like the rules of thumb, the generalizations, the recommendations type of thing. But I think it's, for me, it was difficult getting all these rules of thumb and then not knowing, well, what does that actually look like on a day-to-day basis? So that's what we're kind of doing this time is we're just going through and just saying, okay, so this is what I normally eat in a day, just to give everybody else that's interested or watching or whatever an idea of, okay, so they went over their rules of thumb last time. Now this time, this is what it looks like daily. So that's kind of what we're trying to get at on this one. So it's still like eating healthy type tips, and these are Dow tips from the reading and stuff that we've done. But anyhow, so that's kind of where we're going this time.
Yeah, and like we've said before, this is really just to kind of give you guys an idea. Maybe there's something that we're eating on a regular basis that you're like, oh, I could do that. I could swing that. I could easily see that shift or that adjustment working well for my family. And certainly if, something that we're using is going to be a blessing health-wise or that type of thing. Hopefully something we suggest will be a blessing, and an encouragement to you, because the other thing, like we've said multiple times before, we didn't arrive at this place over the course of like a couple months or a year or whatever. It's been like a maybe 10-15 year journey that we've been just researching health and learning more about how we can help our family be healthier. And that's, of course, something that we hope will be a blessing to you also. So what Dave eats on a day-to-day basis looks a little bit differently from what the kids and I eat, just because, he has a different work schedule and that type of thing than what we have. And so what he eats looks a little bit differently. So he's going to share a little bit about what he kind of eats or strives to eat every single day.
Yeah. So first off, I get up normally around 6 a.m. I don't have to be in the office normally until 8 o'clock-ish, 7:45. So anyhow, first thing I do, I normally set it up right next to my alarm, is a big old glass of water. So that way I start off with about this much water, a little bit less. I normally don't fill it all the way up. But I guzzle that down or drink it fairly slowly. And then normally chill out for about an hour or so, get dressed, read my Bible, all that type of stuff. And then for breakfast, I normally do that around 7 a.m. And so breakfast for me, and again, one of the rules of thumb is that you want your lunch to be the biggest meal. Because that's when your digestive system is really, it's in the morning it's just getting started, in the evening it's shutting down. So lunch needs to be that biggest meal of the day. So for me, breakfast is normally some fruit. I'll normally have like an orange. I normally start off with an orange. I like citrus out the gate, and then and a banana or an apple or something like that, and then some chia seeds is normally what I do for breakfast.
So now you mentioned chia seeds. Do you just dip in the bag,
thank
or how
you.
does that?
Yeah, thank you.
Chia seeds
Yeah,
are kind of dry and crunchy.
So normally what I'll do is after I get up, go downstairs, refill my water, so I sip on it while I'm reading and getting things started. Is I'll just take a cup, a small cup, and to do about like 5 teaspoons of, it might be tablespoons, I think it's tablespoons of chia seeds in a cup of water. And just let them soak for, it really only takes like 10 minutes or something like that. I normally give it more like 30 minutes because I don't get around to it until later. But that way it's ready to go. And I just eat it with a spoon or drink it, depending on how much water was in there.
Yeah. So whether you know it or not, chia seeds are super beneficial for your health. And so working those into your diet some way is a good idea. So when you rehydrate or add moisture liquid to chia seeds, they get kind of like a gel around them. And so you can make what's actually called chia seed pudding, which is kind of the idea that Dave's going after. He just eats it straight. You can add flavorings to that. Like I know people add fruit to that or something like that. I will put chia seeds, like sometimes I'll have some kombucha or something. I'll put some chia seeds in there, and it actually kind of makes it a little bit chewy. I enjoy it. It's not for everyone. You can also put chia seeds like in oatmeal. If you have oatmeal or a hot breakfast item, cereal type item in the morning, you know, grits or something like that, you could put chia seeds in there, and it gives it a little crunch, and it gives it more kind of a nutty flavor. So a couple options for getting chia seeds in your diet.
Now, what do you eat for breakfast?
So the kids and I usually have bacon and eggs every morning for breakfast. And researching what kind of bacon you're eating and how it's been treated, whether it's got nitrates and nitrites in it, is something maybe to consider looking at. If you're wanting to, you know, do a little bit better in your health. Farm fresh eggs, of course, free range eggs, if they've been fed non-GMO feed. Again, I talked about the organic thing last time, but non-GMO is a good thing to strive for. And then if they've been pasture, you know, able to eat grass, forage around bugs, all that kind of stuff is great for your eggs. And then we will usually make up a pot of oatmeal or warm cereal type thing. There's a couple blends that have different grains in them that you can do more like a porridge type item, breakfast item. And so that's when I will usually get my chia seeds. I'll usually put some grass-fed butter in there. I'll usually add some scoops of collagen in there. So there's a lot of things that you can get in your warm breakfast cereal that helps with health issues that you might be having or beneficial to your health. So that's what the kids and I usually do is bacon, eggs, and then a small, well, the boys have ginormous bowls of oatmeal, but yeah, and you can put, you know, peanut butter in there. We have molasses. Blackstrap molasses is incredibly rich in health benefits, trace minerals, super high, you know, again, it goes back to looking at the quality of molasses that you're getting. Blackstrap molasses is the kind that's the most nutrient dense. So don't just go grab molasses off your grocery store shelf. The blackstrap molasses is the one that you really want to shoot for. So, lunch.
Normally I'm at work, so it's I brown bag it, and so what I normally have in there is I'll have another piece of fruit that I'll start out with for lunch, and then I like to do some fresh veggies if I can. The snow peas I really like. A carrot will work. A couple of sticks of celery. Something fresh in there.
Those little mini peppers are so good.
Mini peppers. Some people love those. Then normally we will have had some sort of veggies cooked from the night before, so I normally bring a pint jar of those with me. I normally use just pint jars for my to-go containers.
Yeah.
Is normally what I use. And then after that, then I'll have like, if we had some meat the night before or some rice is what I'll have there. The main thing with lunch, same thing with any time, is you want to make sure that the time that you eat is consistent, because then your digestive system knows, oh, it's 12:30. It's now getting time that we need to get up and running because we're about to be asked to do some stuff. So, but lunch for me is normally between 11 and 1.
Yeah. So just to touch on super quickly, you mentioned the containers that you use, and you guys, this matters in a very massive way. So we have been working towards transitioning to glass. Now, the source of your glass and where that came from also is super important. Or stainless steel containers. They have some really great stainless steel container options. But the plastic leaching into your food is really bad for your health. And so we have been transitioning away from plastic. So like he will use canning jars. We like the wide mouth pints because they're a really good size for lunch. And then, like I said, the stainless steel. So for the kids and I, it's almost always leftovers. We will, if there aren't leftovers, because people just, the supper we made was amazing. You know, everyone had 17 servings. It feels like that sometimes. Then we will do something like maybe a sourdough pizza, make your own pizza option. Or if we have, one of my favorite leftover ways to use leftover meat is to take an avocado, slice it in half so you have two open-faced avocados and they have that nice little hole in them from where you took the seed out. So you fill that hole with taco meat, or like we'll do smoked pork roast or something like that. You fill that hole with the meat that you had left over, and then you put some cheese over top of it, maybe some everything but the bagel seasoning or something like that, and you we put it in our toaster oven and just put it on broil so it melts that cheese really nicely and kind of warms up the meat a little bit. And you just scoop it out of the avocado peeling, and it's a super quick, super healthy, nutrient dense lunch. It's a really great lunch option. And then of course there's always the fresh vegetables, or the, whether it's roasted or steamed vegetables from the night before, and then just the leftover meat, whatever leftover meat that we had from the night before. So ours is pretty much the same as your lunch, but we can do a little bit more in terms of making fresh stuff. Sometimes we'll take a like a tortilla, and we'll do tuna. Obviously, where you source your tuna from is important also, but we'll do tuna, and then we'll put cheese on it, and we just call it like a tuna melt. Quesadillas are another favorite.
Yep.
Maggie would love to have mac and cheese every single day if that was offered, but it's not.
Now, for leftovers, real quick, don't use a microwave, please. Get rid of that. We use a little toaster oven for most of ours. It doesn't take that much longer. You know, instead of a 5-minute warm up, it's 10 minutes, but it doesn't take a whole bunch of time longer. So you can go out and do your own research if you want. If you want to do an experiment on your microwave, take 2 plants, make sure they're identical in size, and then water them. One with microwaved water, and then the other one with not microwaved water, and see how they do after a couple of weeks. And then you can kind of tell for yourself. These are one of those ones that you can do your own experiment on when it comes to whether a microwave is good, or whether maybe we should find something else.
Well, and a cool experiment if you're home, like,
mean,
whether you're public school family or homeschool family or whatever. I mean, you don't even have to have kids to do the experiment. I'm just saying it's a great way to get your kids involved and say, should we use our microwave, or should we look at getting a toaster oven?
And then next up, supper. And again, we normally all eat together, so supper for her and supper for myself, her and the kids are going to be pretty much the same. We normally have some sort of cooked veggies. We went over some possible recipes on the last video if you want to check those out, roasted or steamed. And then sometimes we'll have then we'll normally have meat, rice, or potatoes that go with the veggies. You know, if you're doing kind of a teriyaki thing, you put rice with it. But that's basically what our suppers will look like. You can do, you know, everything, you know, in a stew if you want. I normally will eat the veggies first because they digest faster, and then I'll finish with the meats because you don't want the meat digestion to clog up the veggie digestion, and then your veggies kind of just go sour. So
yeah, we did. If you guys have any questions, by the way, type them in the comments, because we are looking to answer questions too if anybody has any. The other night we made an incredible, it was so good, and it was gone, of course. There's never, I feel like I can never make enough of the good suppers and the kind of meh suppers. People are like, yeah, I'm full.
Mental note, if it's really that good, have your first serving, and then before you go back for your second serving, get your pint jar and fill that up first, so that way you still got some for the next day.
Lunch.
For lunch. Yeah, that's the trick that I will do if I know it's going to be gone.
Yeah, the kids will be eating it out and licking the bucket. But anyways, and we use a couple of things to talk about too, is how do we cook the food that we eat? So we actually have 2 Instant Pots.
Yeah.
And 6-quart and an 8-quart, because we use them like every day.
Probably.
We use at least one of them probably every single day.
Pretty much. Yep.
And I was the person who had an Instant Pot in my cupboard for like months, before I was like brave enough to use it. It's not scary, and we use them all the time. Anyways, we could do a whole talk on how we use our Instant Pot. We use it for so many different things. But what we did the other night is I literally had the kids cut up a veggie. So one of the famous things that you will hear said in our house on a daily or weekly basis is cut a veggie. Kids, come cut a veggie.
Yeah, sometimes we just got them in the fridge. Other times one of us will just pick out 4 or 5 different veggies and just say, cut a veggie. And here's the cool thing. The kid that shows up first gets to choose which veggie they do.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a little bit of an encouragement to get them in there and going quickly, you know, because first, second choice, third choice, by fourth choice, well.
You're on the onions.
Sorry.
Dude's cutting onions, the last person. Anyways, but yeah, so it's an incentive for them to come in. I usually say cut a veggie, and then I almost always follow it up with whoever gets here first gets to pick first.
Yep.
So they know. And they'll be trying to like call out a name of a veggie from the living room, and I'm like, nope, you're not in here.
Yeah,
Didn't
you
count.
gotta be in.
Gotta be present to be counted for class.
Yep.
So they each just cut up a veggie, and then I actually had a big beef roast, and so I actually cut it into quarters, and I stuck that in the Instant Pot. Large side down because I wanted the bigger portions to get cooked, the most. And it was all just veggies all around it. Put some water in there. Just put it on stew. Mm-hmm. And the meat was so tender. It was delicious. And you guys, that is not a meal that takes a ton of prep. I think I put salt and pepper in there. I picked pink Himalayan salt and some freshly ground pepper, and we were good.
Yep.
Super easy.
Está muy bueno.
Yeah. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Anyways, so do we want to talk about like any recipes that are kind of family favorites, or do we want to?
If you guys want those in the comments, again, we're trying to keep this in 20 minutes or less. I just looked at the clock and we're about 2 minutes from 20. So kind of wrapping it up, but feel free at any time, whether you're on YouTube or if you're on Facebook, if you got comments, things you want us to hear us talk about. So we're more than happy to go over any types of questions, comments you might have. She can always post stuff on Facebook, messages, recipes.
Yeah.
So couple other things, going to bed. So 9 p.m., no more eating after 9 p.m. Because by then your digestion is pretty much shut down.
Yeah.
So that's why we want to do supper between like 5:30 and 7 p.m. is kind of what you're shooting for there. So before you go to bed though, we normally that's when we take our probiotics. And do drink another big thing of water before going to bed. It'll help you throughout the night. And then the other thing too that I don't think we covered on the last one is you don't want to drink a bunch of water or liquids during the meals.
Yeah.
So so you drink between meals but not during the meal. And the reason for that is because when you drink during the meal, then it's going to dilute your digestion. So, right, you need some hydrochloric acid and all that other type of stuff to digest the food. Well, if you drink a bunch of water in there, it dilutes all of that, and so it doesn't get digested as well as it could be. So, so there's just a couple more tips there.
Yeah. The other thing that we were going to talk about last time and didn't was oils. What kind of oils, are good to,
right.
Whether you're using, like maybe people are using canola oil. Is there a good oil that people could, or some good oils people could sub out for cooking with or baking or that type of thing? Yeah.
Well, main thing is stay away from the vegetable oils, the processed oils. You don't want to use those. They're not natural. Your body doesn't metabolize them right. Mm-hmm. A lot of times they'll go rancid while you cook with them. So although, hey, 0 calories or whatever the thing says on their diet, it goes bad when heated. Yeah. So we use a lot of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. If you can get the legit stuff from Italy, it's normally better quality. Of course, you know, the mob out in Italy, they're starting to add stuff into it anyhow. So it's tough to say what's the best quality and what isn't. We use a lot of
avocado oil.
Avocado oil is another great one. And both of those are good for high heat. Is that right?
I forget.
I'm pretty sure the olive oil is good for high heat.
Research the high heat thing.
Yeah, and then coconut oil.
Coconut
is
oil
is the three that we use.
I don't think good in high heat.
No, not good. We use coconut oil in baking.
Baking.
Yep.
So a couple things. We usually try to purchase the oils that we buy in a glass container. Again, the container that it comes in. If it's been sitting in plastic for 6 months on the shelf, that has been leaching into the oil that you're utilizing. So the container that it's in does matter. And then also, if you're looking for a cooking spray, you're like, oh my goodness, well, I just love the cooking spray when I make cookies or whatever that is. There is an avocado oil cooking spray that you can get. Also, you can get one of those little bristle brushes and just dip it in your coconut oil or whatever your oil is of choice, and you can actually use that on the pan. Another thing to think about is rendering your own lard. So when we butchered pigs, we would always save the lard. And rendering your own lard is super easy. And lard actually gets a pretty bad rap. But you cannot get much more unprocessed or minimally processed than the pig that was in the feed, you know, the pasture out back, being butchered on the farm, bringing it into the kitchen, putting it in the crock pot, and rendering it down in the crock pot and ladling it into your own jars. That is pretty minimal processing, folks. So if you can do something like that, also if you're getting a nitrite-free bacon, and you're having that cooked in the, you know, fried up in the pan every single morning, you can keep a little jar of bacon fat. That's also really great to use in cooking and baking and stuff too. So
there we go. We got it.
I think that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. 22 minutes.
Oh, dude.
So
up top.
So we're trying to keep them in this time frame, not 53 minutes. So anyhow, please make sure put any comments, questions you might have. If there's, you know, especially people that know us, you know, if there's something you want to hear us talk about, by all means throw it in there.
Yes, and we do, just one final note, Jeb, our youngest son, actually raises quail. And so he is going to be processing some quail this next week. And so if seeing a video on how to process quail or that type of thing would be of interest to you, let us know in the comments, because we can always video record that for those who would be interested in how that process works.
Okay.
And our quail recipe too. We're going to have those for supper.
Yep, on Monday.
Have a great weekend, you guys.
Yep. Bye.